Hello everybody, welcome back to the Cupcake Jemma channel with me, Sally. Thank you so much for joining us again this week. Now, first things first, you can probably tell I've got a little bit of a cold. I'm a bit bunged up, probably got a bit of a red nose, and I'm gonna try really hard not to sniff my way through this video, mainly because it'll be loud and clear in Sam's ear and poor him, right? So fingers crossed I can hold it together. Anyway, we are back in Sam's flat today, and it's been a little while since we've been here. I think the last thing we baked together here was our mindful fruit crumble bars, and I was completely blown away by how many of you baked them. Loads of you sending me your photos over on Instagram. You all use different fruits, different jams, and you really loved it, which I really loved as well, and I shared quite a lot of those photos over on my Instagram account too. So I thought it was probably time to do another mindful bake because you guys are loving it, which is great news. So it's going to be for muffins, or mindful muffins, as Gemma was calling them the other day, because that is what they are. Now, why should you bake this muffin recipe? Because I'm sure a lot of you have baked muffins before, but in my opinion, the average muffin can be quite a little bit bland. I'm just going to say it. It's a bit bland, a little bit underwhelming. So Laia, who is one of our awesome Crumbs and Doilies team, gave me this muffin recipe, and she said that it was going to be the best muffin I've ever had, and it absolutely is. It's really simple, and it doesn't even use things that are that different to your average muffin. So I've got a little few hints and tips along the way, which are going to make this the most moist and soft, with a really crispy top, and the kind of, if we're going to use a citrus under kind of note flavour with some lemons, and that's going to be balanced out beautifully by the sugar, and it really is going to be awesome. You can add additions to it, which we will do, but this is so gorgeous that you don't even need to do that. So enough chat, I just need to show you guys what to do. So the first thing I've got here is some caster sugar, and I'm gonna zest my lemons straight into there and just leave them to sit for a little while, just to pull out that citrus flavor so we get maximum lemon in our muffins. So I think I forgot to say how much sugar we've got. So I've got 250 grams of caster sugar, but you can use granulated sugar as well, because I know a lot of people struggle to find caster sugar. So we'll get all of this in here. It's already smelling amazing. I can smell this, even with my cold. It's probably really good for me, actually. So I'm just going to stir this together, just to really kind of infuse the sugar with our lovely lemon flavour. And I really think lemon and sugar is one of life's greatest flavour combinations. Like when you have a crepe, like there is no need to put anything on it other than lemon and sugar, in my opinion. So we're just going to leave this to one side and get on with mixing up the rest of our batter. And this is really, really simple. So again, going back to basics, you know, not kind of stressing too much about what we're doing, how it's going to come out, just enjoy the process. So we're going to start with 3 eggs, which I'm going to crack into this lovely large bowl. And I'm glad that went well, because I just did a rehearsal of this and my double egg crack was not on point. I blamed the cold, but I'm back. Right, so let's just break these eggs up. No need to kind of whip. And once they're all lovely and kind of one thing rather than 3 eggs, we are going to pour in 250 ml of whole milk. Whole milk is great because it's got a lot more kind of richness in flavour, but if you've only got semi-skimmed, then that is a-okay. I always prefer to bake with a full fat milk though, in case you're wondering. So once those are combined, it's time to add some oil. Now, this is where most of our flavour is coming from in this muffin. This is olive oil, okay? And you can use whatever olive oil you want to. In my bowl, what I'm gonna add is a light olive oil. So I'm still getting those notes of olive oil coming through, but it's not as kind of pungent as an extra virgin olive oil. But again, if you wanna go for that flavor, then do, because it is totally gorgeous. And this olive oil is just gonna add such a lovely flavor, a real depth to these muffins. So I'm whisking as I'm pouring, just so this gets fully combined with the fat from the milk. And now we are left with one smooth mixture. And then we're going to add our lemony sugar. So pouring it all in. Just chuck it all in at once. I do prefer to use caster sugar than granulated because it does dissolve a lot kind of more easily, so you get a smoother batter. Sometimes a granulated sugar can leave your cakes a little bit kind of dry. But look at this colour of this batter. I was putting the lemon zest in. It is looking gorgeous. The lemon zest mixed with the olive oil. Delicious. Okay, so that's all our wet ingredients in. So now it's time for some dry ingredients. Just going to use this bowl here. So I've got 375 grams of plain flour. I'm going to add it in 2 halves just to kind of prevent the batter getting too lumpy. So sifting it through. It's always a good idea to sift your flour, especially when it's quite a liquidy batter like this, because you don't want to end up with big old lumps of flour in there. And I'm going to start with my whisk, but what I don't want to do is really over whip this because we don't want to start working the gluten in the flour. So just giving it a little whisk to bring it together. And then we can go in with the rest of our flour. Just pop that through there. And then we need a little bit of raising agent because muffins need to be real puffy. So we're going to go with 2 teaspoons or 10 grams of baking powder. So pop that in, as well as some salt. Okay, so salt is super important. You know, I always tell you to use salt. And when you're buying salt, you need to go for a sea salt if possible, not a table salt, I think it's called, because table salt is basically just sodium and it is really salty and it's going to make stuff taste salty, whereas a sea salt is going to really enhance the flavors in your bake or your food. So you're getting a little bit of salt, but you're mainly getting just a kick in the face of whatever flavor is going on. Yeah. A big lemony kick in the face is what we want. So sea salt, delicious. I'm going for a nice pinch there, maybe even about 1/4 teaspoon I think I probably ended up with in there, but it's not going to taste salty, okay? So I'm going to start with the whisk again, just to get this going. So now I'm just going to switch out my whisk for my good old friend Mr. Spoon, just because, like I said, I don't want to overwork this gluten, so I'm just going to fold the rest of this until it's nice and smooth. And once your batter's looking gorgeous and smooth, it is done. This is your basic muffin recipe right here. I mean, it smells better than it looks. I know it just looks like a cake batter, but it smells gorgeous. Now, what we're actually going to do is pop this in the fridge. This batter is ace because you can make this the day before and you can put it in the fridge. Maybe you want to make them for breakfast or something. I'm all for muffins for breakfast. So the reason we're going to put it in the fridge is so that when we bake it, we're going to get that gorgeous rise, and we're not just going to get the muffin top. Okay, we don't want that. We want these muffins to get really lovely and tall with a crispy outer coating, and we don't want them to kind of spread. And putting them in the fridge and baking them from cold is going to do that. A little bit like when we made madeleines. Remember, we make that batter, we store it in the fridge, and then we bake from cold. So I'm going to pop this in the fridge for about an hour, minimum 1 hour, ideally, like I said, overnight. I'm going to have a little clean down. I'm going to make myself a cup of tea. I'm going to blow my nose, maybe take some paracetamol, and I'll be back to bake these in a minute. Okie doke, so batter has chilled out. It's been in the fridge for about an hour now. It looks exactly the same, don't worry. If you've left it in the fridge overnight, it might be a little bit thicker, stiffer, it's totally fine. I've also popped my oven on to 170 degrees C, which is fan assisted, just so it's got time to get really nice and warm before we put the muffins into it. It's really important to preheat your oven. And now we're gonna add some additions. So like I said, you can leave this plain, and I actually love to do it plain. Like if I'm baking these for myself at home, I just leave them plain. But for you guys, I'm gonna jazz it up a little bit with some white chocolate chips and some raspberries, because these with the lemon is a perfect winning combination. So I'm just gonna do this by eye. You can put as many in as you like, or you can try something else. You could pop in some blueberries, which would be delicious with the lemon. If you wanted to do something more like a chocolate chip, maybe some nuts, then maybe reduce the lemon zest a little bit. Do you know what? I'm gonna put some options for you guys in the description box below so that you can have a fun time doing whatever you wanna do. So we'll stir these through and then we'll go in with some raspberries. So I've got some fresh raspberries here, and I'm just gonna kind of break them in half, I think. You could do this with freeze-dried raspberries or even frozen raspberries, to be honest. Or some other fruit, maybe some strawberries. Possibilities are endless here. This is why we love these kind of recipes, because you have your basic kind of base batter and you can just add whatever you want to, or whatever you've got in the cupboard, so you don't need to kind of worry about going to the store to pick up what I've told you to get. So we'll put a few in and then we'll just give these a stir. Now, once you've put your fruit in and you've broken it up like I have, you don't want to over mix it because the batter might go a little bit kind of grey in colour, which is fine if it does, don't worry. But if you don't want to do that, just stir it nice and gently. So I've got myself a regular cupcake pan here, but I've actually got some slightly bigger paper cases this time. I just got these from the local supermarket, and they're muffin cases, so they're a bit bigger, but of course you can do this in normal cupcake cases. You could even make mini ones as well if you've got a mini cupcake pan at home. That would be pretty cute. And now, just to help me get this batter in, I'm going to put it into a jug, something with a spout on it, because this is a very liquidy batter. So we'll fill up our jug. Ooh. There we go. And then I'll just use a spoon, and we want to fill them almost to the top. We're going to leave about ½ centimetre, like this. It's looking pretty good. Again, because it's liquidy, it's nice and easy to see how full you've done them. If you've left the batter overnight and it's a bit stiffer, you might want to give it a little prod like this, just so we can see how full they are. And now, before we pop them into the oven, we're just gonna give these an extra crispy topping with some more caster sugar or granulated sugar. And we're just gonna sprinkle all over each muffin. And this is gonna be so delicious. They're already gonna be crispy on the outside, but this is like sugary crispy deliciousness. Now, the other great thing about this recipe is that you can bake one muffin at a time if you want to, and you can leave the rest of your batter in the fridge. And I'm telling you this now because it's a little bit like our cookies. I think it's a really great idea to bake one in your oven and see how it turns out, and then you can adjust your oven temperature if you think it needs to be a little bit hotter. So that's what I did earlier when I got to Sam's house. I had some batter made and I popped a couple into the oven, and then I knew that I needed to turn the oven up a little bit more because they weren't going as golden as I wanted them. So there's my top tip for you, but I've got my oven temperature right, so we're going to put these in at 170 degrees C for 25 to 30 minutes. You want to pop a skewer in the middle of each muffin, and if it comes out clear, they are done. how gorgeous are these muffins? That sugary, crackly top that we did from the custard sugar that we sprinkled on top, they are absolutely beautiful. I love this kind of bake, kind of rustic, but I find that beautiful. So I've let them cool down almost completely, but I do think muffins should be eaten when they're a little bit warm. So I'm going to break one of these open for you guys so we can take a little look inside. This texture is so spongy, but it's not claggy. It's going to be absolutely delicious. It looks really moist. It smells absolutely incredible as well. When you break it open, you just get this woohoo of like raspberry and lemon. Here we go. So comforting and really soothing, which is exactly what I need right now. The lemon and the sugar are such a beautiful combo because they balance each other out just perfectly. I love that kind of sweet sour combination. I love a sweet salty, but a sweet sour really is absolutely delightful. The raspberries are beautiful too, and then you get a little sweetness from the white chocolate. And remember, you can put whatever you want in these. That topping as well. Let me see if you can hear it. Maybe it's not the nicest thing to listen to someone eating. Sorry guys. Gorgeous, simple, easy, really simple ingredients, really simple equipment, no stress. Really hope you love this one. Let me know how you get on, and of course keep sharing your photos with me over on Instagram. Use the hashtag #CupcakeJemma, and you can tag us as well. I'm Sally Dowles. Can't wait to see what you guys get up to. We'll be back next week. One of us, maybe me, maybe Jane, maybe Gemma, maybe all of us. I can't tell you because we have been so busy that we haven't actually got next week's video in the bag yet. We're so busy over at Crumbs and Doilies getting ready for Christmas. The guys there are planning and prepping all the bake at home kits. We'll have the Christmas cake, we'll have the gingerbread, and we've got an extra special one coming up as well. So we can't wait to share all of that with you guys. So until next week, have a fabulous time baking and enjoy these muffins. And thanks for putting up with my cold. Sorry.